So this is a very famous painting by the artist Gustav Klimt. It is called The Tree of Life, and it is the inspiration for this project that I'm going to show you. So what I've started with is, I learned a little about Gustav Klimt, and I found that he uses real gold and real silver in his paintings. So obviously in my classroom we're not going to use real gold, but I have gold metallic paint, and we painted the background of a piece of oak tag. It was a little heavier paper. You can use regular paper if you're at home, and some gold paint. So get a nice smooth coat, let that dry, and then you'll be ready for this stuff that I'm going to show you today, which is cutting multiples. So I have this really great paper, and I have it in lots of different colors. Some of them are metallic and shiny like this one, and some of them are not. And I like a variety. I have 3 colors that are metallic and 3 that are not. When you want to cut multiples, artists often will do this if they need to cut more than one of the same shape. So this is multiples. I have multiple blue triangles. They look exactly the same, and there is an easy shortcut to make these. Instead of having to draw and cut 4 triangles, you can fold your paper. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So I've cut this into a strip, and then I'm going to fold it in half, pinch, fold it in half, and pinch. And that's where I stop to get a shape this big. But if I want more, I can fold it one more time and draw a shape here and get lots of them. So I'm going to draw a little oval with a pencil. And when you draw, you want to try to make sure that you take up as much of this paper as possible so that you get a shape that is a good size and not too small. Inside of the scissor is very strong, so if you're cutting through lots of layers of paper like this, it's really helpful to open your scissor wide, push that paper down into the bottom, and then slowly close your scissor as you're turning to follow your line. The paper is turning, the scissor is staying as is, and I'm using the inside part of the scissor because it's the strongest. This hand is pinching so that all these layers don't move while I'm cutting. Now I'll throw the scrap away or recycle it. And now, because I folded it a bunch of times, I've got multiples of this red shiny oval, and all I had to do was draw it and cut it once. So that's pretty cool because it makes art making go a lot faster. After you've cut multiples, it's best to sort your work or your shapes into these nice piles so that you can see what you have. And any papers that don't really go or sort of have a single, like let's say you had one random rectangle in green, you might want to leave that one out and push it away or out of your way or in the recycling bin. So with these piles, I've now sorted my shapes out. Now I can start thinking about my collage. And when I look at Gustav Klimt's work, I notice that he sort of creates little clusters of similar shapes, and he repeats them. He doesn't just do, one shape randomly. Usually he's got little groups of them. So here's a little group of some shapes. So with that, here's a nice pattern of triangles. With that, I'm going to use that concept in my artwork. And there's 3 things that I tell my students to think about. Overlapping, which is when you take a small shape and you put it on top of a big shape. So if I do it to 1, for this project, I'm going to do it to all of my big purple ovals. So this is overlapping, when you put one on top of the other. So I could glue that down if I like that. The other thing we want to think about is pattern. So I'm going to just show you pattern. I've got these blue triangles, and maybe in between my blue triangles, I could take this idea straight out of Gustav Klimt's picture, and I could do my little triangles. So there's a pattern of size, big, small, and there's a pattern of color, light blue, dark blue, light blue, dark blue. So that's a pattern. And then the other thing that I want you to think about is the cluster of shapes, or a design that you can create in sort of a circular way. So almost like a flower or a starburst or something like that. So I have that, and then I can maybe, I have extra blue shapes, so maybe I can do something cool with these. So I'm still thinking about pattern, but instead I'm working in this circular motion. And I have these squares, and I just don't know what to do with them. So maybe I want to put one in the middle. I'm going to move these out of the way for right now. So right now I'm really just playing. I'm just kind of playing with what I have here and trying to think of a really cool design. And let's see, I actually have the perfect number of red ovals, so I could do something cool with these. Maybe I could put them, and since I'm doing it to one, I'm going to do it to all of them, because these are sort of like a group and they go together. So it has to look sort of like it belongs in this design, so it has to sort of be the same. So if I cut this in half, whatever's on this side is also on this side, and if I cut it in half this way, whatever's on the top is also on the bottom. So that's how this sort of circular design works. So I like that, and I'm going to leave that. I might not want to use all these because I feel like I'm going to run out of space. But I'm going to do my pattern back down here. And maybe I want these sort of together in a little bunch over here. So that's my planning, and I have all these extra shapes, and I'm not going to throw them away. If I have a folder, I'm going to put them in the pocket of my folder. I'm going to hang on to them, and I'm going to see what I can do with them later. I'm thinking maybe I can have some room for those green. If I overlap, then maybe I can do a pattern like this. So this is me thinking about what I want to do, and you know, as an artist, thinking about where you're placing your shapes is called composition. And artists often think about how they want to place their shapes before they actually place them, so that they can have their ideas down and sort of play with their ideas. So the way that I just changed that to be able to fit some more. Now this guy and this guy, I only have one of these, and if I put him up here, he doesn't really feel like he belongs there, because the rest of those that look like him are down in this area. So for this project, I'm going to take him away and not use these extra shapes. I'm going to get rid of those, and I'm just going to work with what I have here. I'm going to glue this down, and when I'm done gluing, I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you the next step to adding some spirals. But when I glue, I always take the smaller shape first, put glue on the back of it, and get those glued on first, because those are the ones that could get lost. So I like to glue my smaller shapes if I'm overlapping, my smaller shapes to my bigger shapes first, and then I'll glue it down to the gold background. So always put the glue on the smaller shape. And again, like when I glue this, I'm going to put the glue on the shape, not on the gold, like that, because then I might have glue in places that I don't want it. So I'd put glue on my shape. And then stick my shape down. And rub it down to make sure that it's flat. Okay? So this is what we're working on, and then I will have another video to show you the next steps. Have fun planning!